Now, let's turn to tonalization. This is a new word in English. We can think of this as the musical equivalent of the practice in elocution which student singers go through, training their voices to produce beautiful sounds. In the case of voice, this is called vocalization. And in just the same way, with any musical instrument, practice in achieving a beautiful tone should be an important part of every lesson. For it is essential that students of 1 year or 2 years have behind them, respectively, 1 or 2 years of work in tone production itself. Because I believe this so strongly, I have for all these years taught with an emphasis on developing the ability to produce fine tones. In lessons, I have always had students work first on tone production, and only after that has been completed have I had them go on to practicing actual pieces. And in this same vein, 7 years ago, I proposed the following idea to the officers of the American Association of Teachers of String Instruments. I said, "Isn't it only because we don't have the proper name for it that we can't do this kind of teaching?" I suggested that just as vocalization is such an effective way to develop beautiful voices, we need a similar method to use in teaching instrumental music, and we need a name for it. This led to quite a discussion, and they all agreed with me. Whereupon was born the new English word tonalization, like vocalization, but for tones. We thought it best to use the same term throughout the world. So in Japan, we also refer to this method as tonalization. And moreover, we include in every lesson this special training in producing tones which are more and more beautiful. Only when this practice in tonalization has been completed do we move on to the practice of pieces themselves. This method differs considerably from how others teach the playing of musical instruments, but I myself have been using it for almost 40 years now. Let me explain a little about how we conduct this training in tonalization. First, in the case of the violin, we take a tone. Hear it echo? Using the bow, we make it resonate. Taking this sound as our model, this resonance of the pizzicato, this is our fundamental tone. And we always use the bow so as to produce this tone. Even if the bow is lifted off the strings, they keep humming. For each note of the octave, there is one point where the string should be fingered to resonate correctly. Like this. We teach pupils to produce accurate notes with no vibrato.
ノービブラートでこの
Then, whenever they take up the bow, they'll be able to get this resonating point. These three strings are first. Then, in the same way, open A and first finger on the G string. And then first finger on the D string. In this way, we practice finding the resonating points and being able to get accurate notes with no vibrato. This is the beginning of our tonalization.
トナリゼーションの最初の 今度は
Next,
この
this. These notes using finger 4. After practicing these notes only with no vibrato, then at our lesson sessions, we begin simple exercises like
簡
this.
単な
Simple exercises like that.
始めます。
And at each lesson, we listen to students' tones to be sure they're getting the resonating point exactly. In this way, for each tone they play.
一つの音も
In the beginning, we give them plenty of training, starting with their hand down and having them come right to the resonating point. Once, twice, 3 times. In this way, when a pupil can play a note correctly 3 times, I say he has his basic
言い
ability.
方をしています。
Then when the pupil practices at home, if, for example, he plays the note correctly the first time, but
2つ目がもし
the second is wrong, he must start again from the beginning and play the note 3 times without a mistake. Here again, we have them start with their hand down at their side.
こんなような
Practicing in this way develops the student's ear so that he can immediately recognize correct resonance.
共鳴の
Then, if the note instead sounds like this, he can quickly get back on the resonating point
ある
and make the strings sing.
音を
When the pupil can control this, he can correct himself.
OK
This, then, is the first type of tonalization practice I have the students do
まずやるわけ
to learn that they must make the strings resonate. Then, every stroke, makes a clear tone at constant volume. I try to develop in them the ability to keep constant volume, no matter how long the note is held, and I have them always pay attention to whether or not it is a beautiful tone. I am also careful not to let them bear down on the bow. Rather, I work on developing their ability to apply the bow properly to the strings and balance it. For a note produced when the bow is properly balanced is truly beautiful, but if the bow is unbalanced, no power can be directed to the tip of it. With a balanced bow, no matter what part of it you use, the tone is the same as the sound you get with an open string. This is the most primary thing you must teach. And when the student can play this in G major, then have him practice varying the tone like that, and playing all the notes of the G string like this. It may seem that this is just repetition of the same thing. However, for the purpose of developing a more and more beautiful tone, practice of this same melody can profitably be continued for 1 or 2 years, and the sound can be changed to take on different qualities. The essential thing is to master how to make the strings resonate with a beautiful tone. The teacher's method in guiding this development will naturally depend on the student's ability and will vary from student to student. But in any case, the final aim is to have them be able to produce beautiful tones like this. You can have them practice like that, or like that, using even just a few bars from the Bach minuet. Making use of such a passage, have them strive to get a beautiful tone, whether bowing with big strokes or small. Checking whether they keep the volume of the tone consistent. This method of developing the ability to produce beautiful tones is what is meant by tonalization. Then, as the student's tonalization gradually gets better and better, we must turn to the matter of vibration, or vibrato as we call it. In other words, the study of vibrato becomes more and more a part of the lesson. In addition, we must also develop the student's ability to hold the bow properly and get the right balance as it touches the string. He must learn how to apply the bow to the strings to get really beautiful tones. This type of guidance must be done thoroughly as part of our total study of tonalization. And again, in learning to control the vibration of the string, we take the open string note as our base. This seems like a very simple idea, yet it is one of the keys to more beautiful playing. Briefly then, I've explained how to conduct lessons in tonalization. As to the changes that take place in the teaching as the student progresses, needless to say, after 4, 5, or 6 years, there will be changes, though this depends on the ability of each student. All the while, we are striving for a better and better sound, a larger, fuller sound, or a quiet, small sound, fortissimo or pianissimo. Our teaching always emphasizes achieving a beautiful tone.
トナリゼーションは
In one form or another, we work at this tonalization study during each lesson,
そして生徒は
and then the student, at home, studies to develop even a better sound, and comes to the next lesson even better
そう
prepared.
いうことに
This is the method we have been using for many years now.